It's been a minute, but
Yep.
welcome to episode 21 of the Ozheads podcast. What's up, bro?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Happy New Year. Is
Happy
it too
New
late
Year.
to say Happy New Year, I guess?
Merry
But
New Year.
It's like we're in March now. We're just saying Happy New Year. I think Larry David had a thing against that. But anyway, so here we are, man. God, it's been a minute.
I know, and I'm actually very excited to be lighting up one of these two right now. I'm actually about to light up this one. Can you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you. Can you tell me about the Mule Kick? Well, tell me about the Mule Kick, how it started in general, and how many Mule Kicks there are, and then this one that I'm lighting up now, which says limited edition
2025. Yeah. So we, in usual Crown Heads fashion, we got off to a running start in January. We launched 4 Kicks, Mule Kick 25, and then we just announced Juarez Bulldozer LE 2025. And we got another surprise coming in March. But to your question, a Mule Kick, it started off in 2012.
Oh, wow. So a long time ago.
A long time ago. It was our first limited edition.
Okay.
And ironically, at the time, I'm like, I don't want to do limited editions. I just want to build brands. I don't want to do these one-off things or whatever. And the story is that we were at the trade show, which at that time I think was still either the RTDA or the IPCPR. And we had just launched 4 Kicks the year prior in 11. And Ernesto Perez Carrillo, our dear friend, had told me that, hey, I got some wrapper that's too dark for the regular production 4 Kicks brand. He said, but I could, maybe I can color sort them and put the dark ones at the bottom of the box. I'm like, no, don't do that. Let's just keep it all uniform. We'll figure out something to do with the darker wrapper. So about half an hour later, we somehow end up on the topic of working out with Ernie. And and he starts going into this
you
thing.
know what, bro? I have these little lighters I lift with my finger. I do some finger curls.
Needless to say, bro. Needless to say.
Already work. Okay.
And he says, he goes, I said, I work out in the warehouse. And he says, well, do you ever do this thing called a Mule Kick? And I said, what? And he says, he goes, a Mule Kick. And he literally, imagine, he gets on the floor at the trade show and starts doing this push press kick out thing, this whole, and I'm just sitting there kind of like laughing, like, this is so surreal. So anyway, about 10 minutes later, I had an idea. I'm like, hey, I think I know what to do with that darker wrapper. He's like, what? I said, what's the yield? He says, we could probably get 4,000 or 5,000 cigars out of it. I said, well, we're going to tweak the blend and we're going to call it Mule Kick instead of 4 Kicks. And he's like, oh, yeah. And that's literally how it was born out of necessity to utilize the wrapper that we didn't want to waste.
What was the wrapper again?
It's Ecuador Habano, but it was too dark. This like 4,000 or 5,000, cigars. So that's what we did. We released 4 Kicks Mule Kick in 2012. And
so was the idea also for it to have like more of the cigar blend,
a little bit more of a punch?
Kick?
Yeah. We modified the blend just a little bit in the filler and then put the darker wrapper on it.
Yeah.
I called it 4 Kicks Mule Kick. And
how many boxes did you do?
That was 410 counts. That was it. It was 4,000 cigars.
Okay.
And I remember the SRP on it was $8.95 a stick in 2012. And
inflation
sold. Yeah, right. Sold out immediately. And then I heard rumors like a year later that the boxes were going on eBay for like $400 or $500. And,
oh wow.
Crazy stuff like that. And that's how it started. And then,
every year after that?
Almost. We didn't do it for a few years. I'd have to go back in the notes and stuff and look. But it hasn't been an annual thing like Calaveras or anything like that. But what's interesting about this year's version is it's the first time we've used Connecticut broadleaf. We've dabbled with the wrapper in the past. Sometimes we've used the Habano wrapper. Sometimes we think we did a Sumatra, San Andreas. But this year we're doing a broadleaf, which, Ernie works really well with broadleaf. And a modified blend over the original Mule Kick. So it's kind of a brand new cigar, essentially. So I'm pretty excited. But to kind of frame it up, it's 2,500 10 counts. So it's 25,000 cigars that we made.
So does
run.
the blend, how does the blend differ from, are there any sort of thread of maybe similarities with that in 4 Kicks? Do you use some of the similar fillers or?
Initially what we were doing with Mule Kick is we were keeping the same Mule Kick blend that we did in 2012 and just playing with the wrapper. Mm-hmm. This year we actually changed the filler entirely, and we've got like Nicaraguan filler in it, and we kind of made it punchier, and so it's not even the same filler from the 2012. It's completely a different recipe, different wrapper. But it was such a good cigar. I remember Ernesto Perez, Real 3, we call him 3, third. He sent me some samples. I'm like, can we do something with this cigar? He's like, yeah. And so I gave him a quantity, and I said, this has got to be the next Mule Kick. Because we haven't done a Mule Kick since 2023. So we had a couple years off. So that's the new one. Yeah. So that was originally slated for the end of this year, towards the end of this year, but we had a discussion internally and brought it to the initial Q1 release.
So I went this past weekend. They had a 1-year anniversary for Papa Peas.
Scott Partridge. Shout out Scott Partridge.
To Scott Partridge and my friend Brett Moore for wanting to kind of expand their business into cigars. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I was over there. It was a lot of fun. It was a great, great party. But there was a gentleman over there that was smoking a 4 Kicks. So I asked him, I said, is this a 4 Kicks? Is this the Mule Kick? Because I couldn't tell, because they start taking off the bands and stuff like that. So I couldn't tell if he took off a band, and it was crowded in there. And he's like, no, this is the original 4 Kicks. And he said he liked it because it was very consistent.
Yeah, it's funny because Scott Partridge and all of us go way back to the CAO days, and then when we started Crowned Heads, he was very proud that he always had the first boxes of every release that we did, because he was managing Uptowns back in the day. And so we launched 4 Kicks Selección number 5 at Uptowns with Scott. And he was always like, I'm proud to say that I've had the first of every release that you guys have done to this point. So
you kind of sounded like him at the beginning there.
Yeah, I just talked too fast. Usually he talks a little bit slower than that, but
he sang this weekend, actually.
Did he really?
He did. He's good.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because the band that came over there had played with him, so they made him sing a couple of songs. I think one of them might have been an Allman Brothers song that he sang.
So where geographically is Papa Peas?
Papa Peas is in basically south, heading in Franklin. It's in Cool Springs.
I thought he was doing something in the 12 South-ish area.
No. This is in
Wasn't he at one point?
He may have at one time, and then they stopped that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's in Cool Springs. It used to be Woody's Smokes and Brews.
Got it.
But they've done a great job with it. They have this back lounge that that has the best ventilation. They invested in having just air removal. Mm-hmm. So that air is always circulating. They've got big HVAC units that move the air out of there. And then in the bar, they have a great selection of bourbon. Because my friend Brett Moore, who runs Cool Springs Wine and Spirits, and he's kind of Papa Peas is part of Cool Springs Wine and Spirits.
Right.
Has access to some of the best bourbons in the Southeast.
Nice.
Stuff that you can't find. So they have that at Papa Peas. So you can buy a cigar, and then you can also buy a nice shot
pour.
Of pour of some great bourbon.
Good stuff.
So
this is great. Scott goes back forever. I mean, and they got a website, right? Papa Peas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can check them out.
So this is in and out. I mean, this came in.
Yeah.
This came in, I think, on Thursday.
It was late. I mean, I'll say this. All the cigars were produced in December. So, and I had the boxes delivered to the factory by the end of December. And I had the secondary rings delivered the second week of January. So I thought it was going to be pretty turnkey. We can get it in really quickly. But there was some packaging delays. Specifically, funny behind the scenes story. So I wanted a foot ribbon on it. Mm-hmm. And I went to the factory and I said, hey, just for symmetry purposes, let's put a foot ribbon in.
It matches, yeah.
So I said, we could either do red or black. What would you guys prefer to do? And they told me, let's do red. I said, okay. And signed off on all of that. And then literally a few days before they were supposed to be shipping, they said, we don't have any red foot ribbon. And so, yeah, I was just like, really? Why did you guys tell me to use red? So we had to order the foot ribbon. That was delayed, so we had to wait for the foot ribbon. So the good news is that the cigars got a little bit more rest time, probably an extra 30 days. So, but it just came in, where are we at, March? I want to say right before the 26th. I think we got it in on the 25th of the 26th. And they've been shipping since. So I think, but yeah, they'll pretty much all be gone by the end of the week,
and
for sure.
now, when they're shipped out and they go all over the country, if somebody wants to find where they are, is that like on? Can they go to the site and it tells you like
It's
which
just, I mean,
retailers have them, or it's
like
just,
anything else, Google it and you'll come up with all of
who
the
has it?
yeah, tons. Somebody had that same question for me because their go-to was under construction, a website, and it said they're under construction, and the guy's like, well, where else can I go? And I'm like, well, I just hit Google and it's like Atlantic, Neptune, Small Batch, CI, JR, like all of the usual suspects have it, so it's readily available out there. But
Yeah, it's funny because broadleaf, as we know, can be very variable.
mm-hmm.
In its availability,
Oh, yeah.
kind of tied into
and
the
expensive
weather.
too. It's
Yeah.
gone up incredibly.
So was this
cost.
something when you when it was broadleaf? Was this kind of an issue to kind of set it aside, or not
The issue
necessarily?
is like I liked the blend a lot, but I asked Ernie Jr. I said, "Hey, do you have enough yield to do 25, 30,000 cigars?" And he gave me the green light.
Yeah.
So I mean that wrapper's been there for quite some time. Actually, it's aged like 3 years.
Well, it's good to have when age 3 years for this.
The wrapper is, yeah.
So they probably only had a limited amount of supply of this wrapper that you could have. See, that's the thing, is that I don't know. I've been traveling around and doing a lot of these like behind the blend events and stuff like this at different stores. So I think consumers are really interested in the dynamic of finding out about like, tell me about the supply.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about like if you have a special wrapper, what do you do with it? Can you have consistency of it and that kind of thing? And I really find that like when you do something like this, like a limited edition, then you can use like if in this case Ernesto has like a bale or two of wrapper, then you can utilize whatever the yield is from those bales in a short run project like a limited edition. And then as a consumer, you get a chance to try something that is, delicious, rare, and also like aged, almost like
It kind of
for a
goes back
longer
to the original
period.
2012 where we had like a limited amount of this darker Havana wrapper that we had to utilize. And so it became an LE.
Mm-hmm.
Back at that time, I didn't think that the LE thing would be such a part of our business model going forward. But it's become kind of a necessity, to be honest. It's like the consumer today, I think, as opposed to like back in the old days, it's the same question, what's new? You know what I mean? It's like they want to know what's new. It's like that craft beer mentality where people continually want to have something new. And I know there are some other manufacturers out there that are very reticent towards doing LEs and like, no, we're just going to build brands and we're going to take it slowly, brick by brick, pop, 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 pop. That's great. But I think that the consumer today wants something more than that. I think they want new stuff. I think they want something to look forward to. They want annual releases. I mean, we're not just coming up with stuff to come up with stuff. It's like there's like kind of legacy things where we've done a mule kick, probably 8 out of the last 12 years. Calaveras is an annual release, these kind of a thing. So it enables us to do some fun stuff that also brings a light back to the original Four Kicks brand, because that brand's been out since November of 11, which is a long time in this industry. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you need to, interject a little bit of life back into something that's been sitting there for a minute.
Well, I'll tell you this, like as I smoke this, I mean, I notice it's got this really kind of nice sweetness that's rich. Mm-hmm. That's like, I mean, I love dark chocolate. Actually, now I want it to last longer. So I'll just let it kind of dissolve in my mouth, So this has this kind of slow, dark chocolate kind of, almost like it's got this lingering component, like when you let chocolate sort of dissolve in your mouth, how it kind of like lingers and wraps around your palate. Mm-hmm. This has a lot of that flavor to it, which I think is great. And also I'll note that the carbon ring on this, I've always been a big fan of like cigars that have thin carbon rings, because it shows that the tobaccos have been
fermented
really well fermented long enough so that you can get to like what's the true flavor or the optimum flavor out of that tobacco leaf, which is another thing I find that consumers are really interested in, so I think it's great.
Yeah. No, I was really happy how it turned out. What else is neat is the aroma, the room aroma. So when I smoke, I don't know if anybody else out there is the same way, but I can taste or I can smell, but I can't do both simultaneously. If I'm smoking this cigar, I'm tasting it, but I can't tell you what the room aroma is. So I came in the other day and I went in the warehouse and Chad was smoking. And I said, man, that smells really good. What are you smoking? And it was a Mule Kick. So that's got a really good room aroma to it because I hadn't been smoking a cigar at that point. And it's really a nice aroma to it, which is important.
No, that's great. What else was I going to ask about this? That something just occurred to me when I was doing these events.
Yeah, you've been busy, man.
Yeah.
You had like 3 back to back to back, right?
Yeah, 2 in Myrtle Beach area, and then they were great. One of them with the guys at smokingpipes.com and one of their locations, really kind of interesting, great story about how that basically it was started by a gentleman who was a student at Vanderbilt. He was getting his degree in computer science, working at, I believe it was like Elliston Pipe and Tobacco, had to have been, and he was going there because it's close to Vandy, and he liked pipes, and he said, well, you guys, the internet's like, that's going to be a thing, right? People are buying pipes from the internet, and they're like, oh, no one will buy a pipe from the internet. And so then, this gentleman, they referred to him as Sykes, started, and I didn't have a chance to meet him yet. So he started this company, and now they've become, they're the biggest kind of online retailer for pipes. Wow. And they've gotten into cigars now too, and that's become very successful for them as well. And now they're the biggest, seller of pipes around the world globally.
There's a huge market still for pipes.
Yeah.
Do you remember Grant Batson?
Yeah.
I still keep in touch with him, and we talk about that aspect too, because he learned how to make pipes, and there was like a huge like collector out of the United States where like he'll just put up a picture of a pipe like on IG or something, but next night it's like he's shipping that thing for X amount of money. It's like it's insane.
And then another one called Goodfellas I went to, and they're awesome.
Where are they at?
This is also in the Myrtle Beach area.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't tell you exactly what the city is, but I mean they're awesome guys, fantastic. And Pete, the gentleman who's like is one of the owners of it, is a former cop from New York City, Manhattan. But I mean, Pete was the guy that they would send in with the battering ram. So when they had to like knock down a door, Pete was the guy. And so he was like, but I mean, he's
got to
really,
have some stories.
Oh, he has a lot of stories.
Yeah.
I didn't get into all the stories with him. We ought to have him on the pod and we could talk about the stories. But I mean, he told me that like his shoulder got so messed up from doing it, the battering ram, I mean, like he can't, sometimes he has a hard time like lifting his shoulder or like talking with his hands a lot because of it.
Jeez.
But yeah, I mean, he had some crazy stories about like, how he used the battering ram, like what it takes to do that. I asked him, I said, when you like knock down a door, do you have people that are shooting at you? And he was like, oh yeah, that's why like when he knocks down the door, there are people with shields that come in like immediately just, block gunfire and stuff like this. Can you imagine?
No.
You're in like New York City, Manhattan, probably even the Bronx they went to and stuff like this. But anyway, so now he's in the Myrtle Beach area, and he opened up the store Goodfellas, and he has these like awesome pictures all over the place from like sort of mafia culture movies like The Godfather, The Sopranos, Goodfellas. Yeah. He even has photos of like all of the people that like come to his store and hang out at his store, photographed in black and white, like framed on the walls. Cool. He's got this like lounge seating area. They were like the sweetest guys in the world. Everybody over there was like really, hospitable and friendly and interested in cigars, and people that are into cigars. I mean, they're like interested and curious to learn more about them. So it's like really fun to interact with people that are into it.
I always say like the consumer is so different than they were, say, 20 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? 20 years ago, it was just people would buy like, I'm coming in for my box of 8 Shutman Magnum 46s, and that's it. That's all I'm going to smoke. And da da da. Now it's like people are more educated. They know what Viso, Seco, Ligero is. They know about wrappers. They know about fermentation, cultivation, harvesting, all that stuff. They're knowledgeable, and they want to learn more and
They
more.
want to learn more and more.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, even though they can look stuff online, it's still more of a culture of like.
Well, that's a big aspect
sitting
of it.
there, sitting around and talking to one another.
20 years ago, I don't even know if the internet was around. I mean, I'd have to ask Cole, but you weren't born 20 years ago, so.
24.
And I wasn't that far off. But yet, I mean, the internet is like just exploded with like you can go down any rabbit hole and learn about something and just,
So I know Juarez. I want to talk about that too because this is a really attractive box that you have here, and this is called the Bulldozer.
The Bulldozer.
So tell me about this one.
So Juarez, actually, that started off in 19. That's the history of the brand. We were contacted by one of the big box guys. It was Thompson at the time, which they've been acquired since. They wanted to do a house blend. And Mike brought it to my attention. He's like, do you have anything you can plug into that? And I said, yeah, actually, I've got this blend that I've been working on for Germany because Germany wanted us to do an exclusive for them. And I would send them cigar after cigar after cigar. No. And I'm just like, wait a second. This one they just passed on. It's really got potential. We can plug this into it. So we did. And I came up with the branding with Juarez. And we sold it to Thompson. And about 6 months go by, I hear nothing, crickets. And I'm like, did we ever sign an exclusive on this? And Mike's like, no. I said, let's just take it to the trade show and see what happens. We'll just take samples and a price list and see what interest we can generate. And then Juarez took off. It became like one of our best-selling brands. And
Wait, what year was this again?
That was like 19, I think. And then I can't remember if it was the trade show at 19. I think it was, because 20 was COVID. So we took it to the trade show and it just organically took off. And it's kind of like our value prop kind of a thing because it's in the $6 to $9 range.
Why the name Juarez with the symbol of the bull with the crown?
Juarez is kind of an offshoot of Jericho Hill. And it all goes back to a song Johnny Cash did on Folsom Prison Blues, 1968, and Cocaine Blues specifically. And it's about this guy it's a really morbid story, but the guy, protagonist in the song, kills his wife. He's on the run. He gets caught in Juarez, Mexico. And so we named it Juarez. There's like little hash marks on the bull's behind, on his hind flank. Mm-hmm. And that kind of denotes like when you're in prison, you're counting your days down. Boom, 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 boom. That's a little nod to that.
That's here.
So it's kind of loosely based on Jericho Hill's brand inspiration. And so we used to do a seasonal release for Juarez called Shots. And it was like a little small format cigar. We used to sell them in cabinets of 50 for the
Somebody called Andy, by the way, when I was in the car with him. Mm-hmm. This was Friday. A retailer, so he had him on speaker, and he had a customer that was looking for shots.
Yeah, we haven't done shots in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, this guy was looking for it.
Yeah, it was a small format cigar for the cold winter months, this, that, and the other. So last year I started thinking, maybe we'll bring shots back for the first quarter. And then I just pivoted 180 and said, let's do something bigger. So this is a 5.5 by 58. Box pressed though, so it's a lot easier to smoke. The mouthfeel is a lot easier to hold instead of a big round 58 ring gauge, in my opinion. And then we just put the pigtail cap on for a little flourish. We did tweak the filler because we found that the existing filler wasn't strong enough. It got diffused over that 58 ring gauge. So we added a little Mexican San Andreas filler to it, a little Ligero, to give it more punch. So it's kind of an amped up Juarez blend is what it is. And bull, because the bull is the icon of it, just it was easy to call it Bulldozer. So we
is the pigtail for this a bit unusual?
Mm-hmm. That's just a Takanixa thing. I asked them to do a pigtail. That's their version of it. You'll see like pigtails. You'll see like flag. They call them flagtail or whatever.
Yeah,
all different kinds of variations on the theme.
I wonder if the pigtail, if I grabbed it and then twisted it, is that kind of part of the logic of like a pigtail sometimes? Or
I always thought it was just a flourish, but that could be.
I guess you could twist it so that you have more of a
I usually just
straight cut.
I cut it, give
it more. But it depends on I give it more
surface area.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm a big fan of. Wait, so you said this is what is the ring up 58?
It's a 58. But that box press makes it easier to like hold in the mouth. It feels better. I've smoked a few, and I'm like, it doesn't bother me. But if you gave me a round 58 or a 60, it just feels awkward in my mouth. I'm just not. Haven't really historically been a big ring gauge guy, but this cigar works really nicely. And the volume on this was 1,500 12-count boxes.
So
That's shipping this week, in fact.
is this wrapper the same as what's on regular Juarez? Mm-hmm. This wrapper looks like it's a bit. Is it just me, or is it a bit lighter?
It is definitely
average?
lighter, but it's the same varietal. It's a San Andreas Mexican wrapper.
By the way, the draw and the amount of smoke that I'm getting out of this from me just twisting the pigtail is
Not bad.
good. No, it's very good. And the opening is not that
Not that big.
large.
And actually, the SRP on this is pretty attractive. It's less than $10 a stick, which
Really?
for a limited
Really?
edition, for a limited edition cigar,
Can't find that nowadays.
no. So I think it's
So this is Mexican San Andreas,
correct.
and the fillers are Nicaraguan.
Nicaraguan, Dominican, and a little Mexican San Andreas thrown in there. The original Juarez blend is just Nica and DR, but then when we were playing with this in prototypes, it was like, it's lacking something. So Aradio said, let's throw in a little bit more in the filler, and so we added a component from the Mexican San Andreas, and it really kind of elevated it a little bit, balanced it out nicely.
I like how the boxes are different on this too, right? I mean, it kind of lends to the collectability of some of these limited edition releases.
That was just kind of I was like, hey, what if we reverse the colorway? That would look kind of cool.
Yeah, it does look good.
So, and then we also packed them horizontally instead of vertically, just to be different. So yeah, I'm excited for that. That's as we speak, that's en route to arrive this week. So it'll be
shipping out next week then?
It'll be shipping out this week.
This week.
It should land middle of this week, if all things go well. No snafus with importation or anything. Should be fine.
So I would assume that then this might be from a different priming of Mexican San Andreas because it's lighter in shade.
It could be. I've seen other ones that are a little bit darker than this, but
yeah, it's nice. And I like the box press. I mean, for me, it's about like
I know you're a box press fan.
I'm a huge box press guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's divisive, though. You know, there are some people that they're like, it's either yay or nay on it. There's no middle ground.
Well, here's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. Now I'm opening it so it has more of, to see what it's like when I have more of a opening here, is that when you box press, and I mean, I explain this a lot when I'm doing these behind the blends, and actually people find it to be really interesting, which is cool, is that I explain there are different ways that you can box press. Like, traditionally, and you remember when we had our Lanaversera Maduros, right?
Yeah.
Back in 98, 99 at CAO.
Yeah.
That was a cabinet style box where, typically, the cigars, if they were round, would kind of protrude, and then the lid was flat. So the lid would close, and then there would be a nail in the middle, remember? And you'd nail it, and the nail and the top of the lid would press the cigars in the shape of the box.
Hence box press.
Hence the name box press.
That's old school.
But the issue with that is that, and you remember Lanaversera was not cellophaned. So in that kind of format, you're actually going to be getting a lot of loss if you think about it. Not a lot, but it adds up. If you have like some cigars that get cracked because of the fact that they're being, literally being pushed down
in the box.
Yeah. Like that's highly inefficient because there's so much labor and cost that goes into like the making of a cigar that people are probably like, well, why are we doing this? This is crazy. So then it switched to like the classic box press where you have the cigar, it's rolled, you have the binder and filler, they put it in a mold.
Yeah.
They press it for like, 20 minutes, whatever. And then they open it, revolve it to the other side, rotate it, press the other side for another 20, 30 minutes or whatever, and then take it out, then put the wrapper on it. And then after the wrapper's on it, then it's box pressed where you have like a plank below. You set the cigars in a row, another plank above. Crank it with the vise. You have that like times 8. From floor to like the top of the press. Press it, rotate it to the other side, press it. That's traditionally how most people, like I would imagine, still to this day, box press it. And then you remember somebody came up with like, oh, that's also like, why don't we save time and do these plastic molds? And the plastic molds already had the box pressed shape in them, which we also did at CAO. You remember?
I think Nick started doing that when we moved production to Perdomo.
Right.
Because he had that really like 90-degree.
Then it's like more of a sharp edge kind of thing on it, which is not my kind of preference, to be honest with you.
I like a more natural, soft,
right.
like a I call it a trunk press.
That's right. But then Carrillo, how they do it, I've never seen it done this way. The cigars, when they're round, with the wrapper on it, goes into this like steam room where it's like 100% steam. Mm-hmm. They come out wet. Then they put the plank methodology, 8 high or whatever, to press it. Then it gets pressed. Then it goes into another room that is like a sauna that extrudes the moisture out of it. Then after that, it goes into the aging room lined with Spanish cedar. And they sit there like, in the wheels naked before the cellophane is on them. And then they rest over there for like minimum 30 days. Before then, they're like
it's packaged. A labor-intensive process. It really is.
So, I mean, really, they're talking about like there's 4 different methodologies we just discussed of like box pressing a cigar, and everybody has their own way of doing it. Is what
I think. Who put the thing on the map was Padron.
Back
in the mid to late '90s when they came out with the anniversary, the Anniversario, whatever. Before that, there weren't a lot of box press cigars out, but they started doing it, and then everybody started like
But what I like about it, though, is the following, is that if you, again, have a round cigar that you need to kind of press, there needs to be a little bit of give in the cigar. Because if you have it packed with
you need to underfill it a little bit.
You just slightly underfill it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it'll crack.
Oh, yeah.
So I always say to the consumer, I think it's like an extra insurance policy that you're going to be getting a cigar that has a really good draw on it.
No, that's true. Very seldom have I smoked a box press cigar with that shape where there was a draw problem.
Yeah. So
very seldom. It's always got a good draw.
I like it for that. And I also like it when you have a ring gauge like this. Like, I mean, I love 55 ring gauge, but I mean, like, so when you cut it and then you inhale it, it's almost like, I like to say it's like taking a butter knife and spreading the flavor across your palate. Because I used to play tenor sax, right? So it's like it's like a reed for a saxophone.
Okay.
Right? So when you have the reed and the reed is like compressed and the airflow is coming in, well, you're getting the benefit. In this case, when you blow into the sax reed, in this case, I mean, you're getting an even surface area that is then going through the reed and into the horn and delivering with like that kind of that rich volume, that rich sound that comes out of like the sax. Obviously the instrument has a lot to do with it, but I think it's interesting with the reed and the press shape. I just like it when you intake it. It coats your palate right away, and you get a good sense of what like the whole flavor is. Boom at one time as soon as it like enters your palate, So
yeah, I'm a fan of both. Come on in, Miguel.
Surprise!
We have a surprise guest.
You guys recording right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck!
Oh, nice.
We
just got demonetized.
This one you have to edit out. Beep.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. How you doing, man? I'm doing great. I'll let you guys finish.
It's okay.
You guys are awesome.
You're awesome.
Love you guys.
I called it.
Yeah, you did.
He made his entrance.
There you go. But anyway, these are great. I love talking about like new releases and stuff on this.
It's going to be a busy year.
Fun little format.
And then we've got the trade show coming up in, like a little over a month. That scares me. But we got stuff coming from the Oz side and the Crown Head side for the trade show in New Orleans. What are your thoughts in New Orleans? You looking forward to going to New Orleans?
I love New Orleans.
I do too. I think we're in the minority. I think everybody is like, oh man, it's not Vegas. And I'm like, thank God it's not Vegas.
Now, there was a call that, again, Andy got with this customer that asked for shots. And he said that actually
he's glad that it's happening in New Orleans. That
Good.
He's happy it's over there, and that he prefers New Orleans to Vegas.
I do too.
But in this case, this one gentleman said he just couldn't come just because he's got too much happening, too much going on. That
It's a tough time of year. I still,
know.
in the back of my mind, I still hope at some point that it returns back to the summer months in July. And, I think people are better prepared financially to go to a trade show in July than they are in March or April, for sure.
Well, I hope they have a good turnout just because it kind of gives more credence to moving it around, not just having it in Vegas every year. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I
also
love New Orleans, man.
You're sharing the love and going to a city like New Orleans, particularly with all the stuff that happened with the freaking the terrorist activity with driving through the French Quarter, and then they had the Super Bowl, which I heard the Super Bowl it was super safe and super clean, which is great,
You'd
So I
expect
think New
that.
Orleans is it's a great city. It's a great culinary city. I mean, I think that people that are into cigars also have great palate for food, and
I like the
and
food, I
wine
like
and
the
liquor,
architecture, I like the music, I like the vibe. It's just, for me, it's just a better fit. And also, I've got sentimental value to it too. Like my first trade show that I took Laura to, my wife, was 2010 New Orleans. And then 5 years later was New Orleans. And that was when AJ was born during the trade show. So I was I had to go back and forth between where she was born and New Orleans and wrap up the trade show. So it'll be nice to go back there.
Yeah, and my son is down there too. My older son, Evan, he's going to school at Tulane. So I mean, he's in the middle of Mardi Gras stuff right now.
He's going to like the Oz hats that we did for PCA. I did them in a Tulane colorway.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was going to wait for you to see them, but they're taking forever to get here. But I riffed off the Tulane colorway for him.
Yeah.
So
He'll be excited
into that.
about that. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I look forward to New Orleans. That'll be fun.
We'll do another one, and then we'll have our little new releases.
We might have some new surprises for the next one.
Yeah. We good? Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's go talk to Miguel now. Unless you want to bring him in, then this pod will go into 22, 23.
No, we're not interested in it going another hour.
All right. So until the next one, we'll reconvene and talk PCA.
All right.
Keep smoking Crown Heads. Keep smoking Oz Family cigars. And we'll see you on 22.
Take it easy.
Laters.